9-bit.
One of my favorite games from this generation was Mirror's Edge. It was a first-person parkour game. It took place in a dystopian society in which the flow of information is very tightly controlled. You play as a runner, Faith, and you're on a mission to help save your sister as she's been framed for a murder she did not commit. Mirror's Edge was released in 2008, and it was during E3 of 2013 that EA announced that there was going to be a new Mirror's Edge game. Here's my comparison of the first game's trailer with the latest game's trailer. Also, just for the record, I'll be referring to the original game simply as 2008. On another note, whenever you're watching a game's trailer and it mentions about what you're about to watch is in-game footage, that's what the actual game is going to look like. Keep an eye out for something in the next game's trailer. Right off the bat, it's very clear that the 2008 Mirror's Edge had a very distinct look to it. Besides the sharp use of colors, everything was cel-shaded. You might be familiar with cel shading from such games as Jet Set Radio, the Borderlands series, or the upcoming McDroid. It gives everything sort of a cartoony look, and it's not too often that we see it combined with such a realistic style, as was used in Mirror's Edge. One thing players complained about in the 2008 were very clunky shooting mechanics. However, shooting was only optional. In fact, the game actually rewarded players who went out of their way to play the game without shooting anybody. And in this scene, Faith gets to the chopper in 3, 2, 1. Now let's take a look at the trailer for the upcoming game, which is set to be a reboot of the original. Remember what I mentioned earlier about in-game footage? Well, when a trailer mentions all footage from game engine, it actually means that it was rendered using the tools that they use in the engine, but it's not necessarily how the final game will look. And from the looks of things, it looks like they ditched the original's cel-shaded, slightly cartoonish appearance in favor of something a lot more realistic. It's also clear that this game's an origin story, as Faith is getting her tattoos that mark her as a runner. Since this new game is a reboot, I'm really hoping they take advantage of the chance to improve the story. The original game's story, while it was enjoyable, it didn't really give me that much information about the nature of the dystopia. What was the world around the city like? What was the name of the city? That was never really specified. If there is one thing I'm hoping that they don't change, it's the nature of the runners. The runners were a peaceful group in the original Mirror's Edge. The original game left you with only the option to use guns. I'm hoping that that is retained in the new game. That said, the new game is going to be a lot more open than the previous one was, so perhaps there is going to be some room to define your own character. Besides the aesthetic changes, it's pretty clear that Faith's character has a new design. I'm kind of neutral about that, although I am hoping that with her new design they don't change her personality too much. Overall, I'm really looking forward to the new Mirror's Edge. I'm hoping that the changes they make will be for the good. I mean, Mirror's Edge was one of the most talked about, underrated games of last generation. Chances are they'll do something good for it when it comes out on PC, PS4, and Xbox One, when it's ready.
9-bit.